Kuba,
Present.
Egypt,
Present.
Ethiopia,
Present.
France,
Present.
Jerman,
Present.
India,
Present.
Indonesia,
Present.
Iran, Iraq, Japan,
Present.
Jordan,
Present and voting.
Libya,
Present.
Malaysia, Malaysia,
Present.
Maroko,
Present.
Mexico,
Present.
Netherlands,
Present and voting.
New Zealand,
Present. Present.
Nigeria,
Present.
Pakistan, Poland, Portugal,
Present.
Russia,
Present.
Saudi Arabia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, South Korea,
Present.
Spain,
Present.
Syria,
Present.
United Arab Emirates,
Present.
United Kingdom,
Present.
United States of America, Venezuela, Okay, so after the roll call, the total is 28 delegates are present and 2 delegates are present and voting. So we will move to the next agenda. The next session is the opening speech. During this session, each delegate will be given 1 minute. If it has been more than 1 minute, I will stop the opening speech by saying your time has elapsed and give the next delegates a change. If you're done and still have time left, I will ask you, you may yield the floor. And if so, the delegate can answer the floor is yield. And if the delegate call is not present, then I will continue to the next delegate and call the delegate at the end of the opening speech session. Now, we will be moving on with the opening speech. The first delegate is Algeria. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Algeria and Palestine relations refers to the current and historical relation between Algeria and Palestine. The alliance between the two countries has remained both strong and enduring to this day. Today, Algeria is a strong supporter of the Middle East peace process, but it has no diplomatic relation with Israel. Algeria strongly condemned the Israel aggression against Gaza Strip and urged the United Nations Security Council and the international community to assume their responsibilities and put an end to this dangerous escalation. In 1988, with Palestine declared its independence, Algeria was the first country in the world to officially recognize its statehood. This decision further contributed to the depth of Algerian-Palestine relations, even when the other Arab states, notably those which signed the Abraham Accords last year, essentially dropped their pan-Arab commitments to the Palestinian struggles. Algeria has stood by the cause. Algeria has long supported the Palestine Liberation Organization since the 1970s, and Algeria also provides arms and training for Palestine militants. A need for the urgent action within the United Nations to reach a formula that compels Israel to stop its aggression on Gaza. Thank you.
You may yield the floor, Algeria.
The floor is yield.
Okay, thank you. So we will move to the next delegates. Argentina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice President. The Argentine Republic expresses deep concern over the deteriorating situation in Israel and Palestine. The disproportionate use of force by Israel security units in the face of protests over the possible expulsion of Palestinian families from their homes in the Sheikh Jarrah and Solwan neighborhoods, and the response to the launch of missiles and incendiary devices from Gaza Strip. All of this led to an escalation of violence, which we condemn, which caused many deaths, hundreds of injuries, and brought further suffering to the region and its inhabitants. Argentina urges all actors to fully respect their obligation under international law, avoid actions and declarations that further aggravate the situation, and protect and respect the rights of the civilian population affected by this confrontation. We urge support for all international efforts to establish an immediate and lasting ceasefire as the first step in seeking peaceful coexistence for all to dialogue at the negotiation table. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Australia. We will next to the delegates. Belgium, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Honorable Chairperson, distinguished delegation, and fellow guests. I'm now standing in front of you honorably representing Belgium's position on the situation in Israel and Palestine. As a part of United Nations, I, as a delegate, will definitely try to help in reaching a successful resolution for all residents of the territory, especially in Israel and Palestine. The Belgian delegate is open to any solution as long as the residents of the territories in Israel and Palestine get long-term positive results. And to achieve this, Belgium will take part in supporting Palestine as the 194 member of the United Nations and will support the enforcement of human rights for all Palestinian refugees. Thank you.
You may yield the floor.
The floor is yielded.
We're moving to the next delegate. Canada, the floor is yours.
Thank you for organizing, Chair. As a delegate of Canada, we recognize the Palestinian right to self-determination and support the creation of a sovereign, independent, self-reliable, democratic, and territorially contiguous Palestinian state as a part of comprehensive, just, and lasting peace settlement. Canada is committed to the goal comprehensive, just, and lasting peace in the Middle East, which can only be achieved through a two-state solution resulting from direct negotiation between the parties. Canada aims to uphold and promote the two-state solution by helping to establish a law-based, peaceful society that can ultimately become the state for the Palestinian and the stable and secure neighbor for Israel. Thank you.
You may yield the floor.
The floor is yours.
We're moving to the next delegate. China, the floor is yours.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So China's own position in responding to this issue is to give full support to the Palestinians. We claim that China is a sincere friend of the Palestinian people and also support Palestinian calls for international mediated negotiations and are willing to consider taking part in them. The Palestinians can always count on China's support for reason so that they can restore legitimate national rights. And at a time when the conflict in Gaza is heating up, China has raised the issue of Palestine in the Security Council and is firmly concerned and cares about the human rights of Muslims in Palestine and that it is very valuable. China, as rotating chair of the UN Security Council, has pushed for a ceasefire and the delivery of humanitarian aid among other proposals. China strongly condemned the violence against civilians and called for an end airstrike, ground attack, and rocket attacks and other actions that exacerbate the situation. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. You may yield the floor. The next one is Australia. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice President.
Delegates of Australia. Delegates from Australia. Unfortunately,
sorry, yes, I'm so sorry. I get trouble with my laptop, so you can next the delegates, please. Thank you.
unfortunately, delegates of Australia cannot be giving us the opening speech, so we will continue to the next delegate. For the delegates of Cuba, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice President. Cuba has been stand from the Israel and Palestine issue for a long time. We express our solidarity with the Palestinian government and people and reaffirm our position in favor of a comprehensive, just and lasting solution to the conflict. It also advocates for a two-state resolution granting Palestine the right to self-determine and independent and sovereign state, with its capital in East Jerusalem and free border. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Cuba expressed in an official statement in stronger condemnation of the attack by Israel military force against the Al-Aqsa Mosque in occupied Jerusalem and the indiscriminate bombing of the Palestinian population in the Gaza Strip, which has caused more casualties than 100 deaths and considerable infrastructure destruction and material damage.
Thank you, delegates of Cuba. We will be next to the delegates for delegates of Egypt. The floor is yours.
Thank you for the chance. For years, Egypt has been seen as the main mediator in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. As brothers, Egypt strongly supports the independence of Palestine. What is best expected by Egypt is the establishment of a central authority in Palestine, which can create political stability in the country, so Palestine can become a stronger state. Human rights are on our agenda together. In this case, both Palestine and Israel must get equal rights. However, what recently happened in Gaza Strip has indirectly hurt Egypt. An attack by Israel is a heinous act and Egypt rejects it. In achieving rights, each party must still consider and respect the rights of others. Egypt hopes that this also serves as a guide for the Palestinians to act. The existence of jihadists in Sinai may be a form of Palestinian efforts to get out of the confines of the long conflict. However, the emergence of radical and aggressive groups that arise from there actually threatens the birth of the seeds of terrorism. Egypt believes by rising human terrorism, human rights
Sorry,
into the
delegates of Egypt, your time has elapsed. Now we are moving to the next delegates. Delegates of Ethiopia, the floor is yours.
Thank you. As we know that the conflict between Israel and Palestine has been ongoing since the immemorial. This conflict also the great loss for both parties. Therefore, in our opinion, the issue must be resolved together with the fair process and not harm the parties involved. In a term of our bias, we would choose refer to the Israel based on historical and religion factor, according to which the religion of city of Jerusalem is Bible said that son of David Solomon built the first temple of Yahweh, the God of Israel, and made Jerusalem of the central Judaism. Historical background: the Balfour Declaration was open statement issued by the British government in 1917 during the World War I to declare the support the establishment of the nation resident of the Jewish people in Palestine. However, we said the Israel, we also regret the human rights violence that occurred in conflict. Thank you.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
I'm sorry, delegates. Thank you so much, delegates from Ethiopia. Now we are moving to the next delegates. Delegates of France, the floor is yours.
Okay. All acts of violence and terrorism in Israel and Palestine must be stopped. The conflict had gone on too long, had resulted in too many casualties and too great of misery. Many of the innocent people were deprived of their rights. They lost their homes and families, education, economy, and other opportunities, and access to medical care, clean water, and electricity. In the conflict of last May, on the 10th and 17th, 244 people lost their life. 135 buildings in Gaza City were destroyed, leaving 2,500 people homeless. And France will always try to stop this misery and achieve regional stability. France does not side with Israel or Palestine because France is a friend of both. We have historical relations where France has supported the establishment of the State of Israel and its right to live in security since 1949. Our bilateral relations are fairly good, as can be seen from the large French-speaking community in Israel and large number of Jewish communities in France. On the other hand, France also supports the establishment of the State of Palestine and its right to exist and
Sorry,
coexist safely.
delegates of France, your time has elapsed. Now we are moving to the next delegates. Delegates of German, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Honorable Chief. The relationship between Germany and Israel is special. We have been allies with Israel and has repeatedly support Tel Aviv's military aggression on Gaza. We asserted our commitment to Israel and active U.S. involvement in the Israel-Palestine peace process remain the paramount drivers of Germany policy in the Middle East since the mid 1990. Out-country policy toward Israel has become country has been one of the single large contributor to the Palestinian Authority and an increasingly vocal advocate for European Union. Germany has rapidly advocated a two-state solution. Every new Israel settlement contraction is accompanied by admonition from Germany not to further strain the tense situation in the country. Finally, we are already working
Sorry,
for
delegates of
bilateral
German. Your time has elapsed. Now we are moving to the next delegates. Delegates
Sorry.
of
Sorry for all of participants, the video must be turned on, yeah, because you are in the court. So to appreciate the speaker, turn on the video. Continue.
Thank you so much, Mr. Robi. Now we are moving to the next delegates. The delegates of India, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you for the opportunity, madam. Here, India, as the country that have a really good relations between India and Israel, and also between India and Palestine. Here, we would like to know you that India's policy in West Asia has seen a subtle change under Prime Minister Modi. Following the diplomacy of multi-engagement, India has successfully separated its ties with Israel and Palestinian Authority. India has tried to convey that it will consider every issue related to the Israel-Palestinian conflict on its merits. The Modi regime refused to take sides on the Israel-Gaza conflict in 2014. India stated that it was deeply concerned and the step escalation of violence and ruled out criticism of Israel military operations against Hamas in Gaza. So in here, the point that we would like to say that India is looking for the biggest, the best solutions for its country. For we are really respect on each human right that have by human. So we think that we are looking for the best, the way out here. Thank you.
Sorry, delegates of India. Okay, thank you. We are moving to the next delegates. Delegates of Indonesia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice President. Through a free and active foreign policy, Indonesia has positioned itself as a nation that rejects the occupation and oppression that befell the Palestinian people. We have also made various efforts to fight for the rights of the Palestinian people in the international arena through the United Nations. As a member of the Human Rights Council, Indonesia has pushed for the holding of a special session of Human Rights Council and also has become one of the main initiating countries for the special session of the UN General Assembly, which discussed the issue about the conflict between Palestine and Israel. On the other hand, we choose not to open a diplomatic route with Israel before they were willing to acknowledge the existence of an independent and sovereign Palestinian state. Indonesia supports a two-state solution to achieve Palestinian independence, where this solution is seen as being able to bring peace to both parties without destroying each other. We believe that the solution can be a middle ground for both countries so that the conflict can be resolved properly. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we are moving to the next delegates. Delegates of Iran, the floor is yours. Unfortunately, delegates of Iran is not here, so we will move into the next delegates. Delegates of Iraq, the floor is yours. Unfortunately, delegates of Iraq is not here. We will be moving to the next delegates. We will continue opening speech from Japan. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon to the honorable chairpersons, distinguished delegates, and fellow guests. I am now standing in front of you honorably representing the Japan position regarding the situation of Palestine and Israel. This delegate will most certainly endeavor to assist in reaching a successful resolution for the situation of Palestine and Israel, and their administrative powers, bearing in mind at all times the interests of all the Japanese citizens. We are not here today to fight over land, nor we here to carve up the world's map once again. In fact, we are here to instill freedom and protect the rights of all human beings, thus making the world a better place. May we start looking at the world outside of the narrow limits as it is the only way we are going to make a difference. Arigato gozaimasu. Thank you.
You may hit the floor.
The floor is yellow.
Thank you, delegates. We'll be moving to the next delegate. Delegates of Jordan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Here in front of the representatives of other countries, I, as a representative of Jordan, will give an opinion of the situation between Israel and Palestine from the Jordanian point of view, as well as some of the assistance that Jordan has sought for Palestine due to the war that occurred. Here, we clearly voice our support for Palestine in its conflict with Israel. Hereby, the Jordanian parliament submit a motion to urge the government to expel the Israeli ambassador as a form of our protest against the unilateral attack by Israel. With the refuge from the Palestine, we also become the intermediaries between countries that want to provide assistance to Palestinian refugees in our country. Jordan has so far continued to stand as one of the countries that defends the rights of Palestinians that have been taken away. Jordan.
Sorry, delegates of Jordania, your time has elapsed. Now we are moving to the next delegates. Delegates of Lebanon, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Today, I'm here to discuss one of the most important issues, the situation that exists in Israel and Palestine, especially on the borderline, has shocked many Syrians.
I'm sorry, delegates from Lebanon, we can hear your voice. I'm sorry, delegates of Lebanon. Unfortunately, we cannot hear your opening speech, so we will continue the next delegates, and we are going to call you after all the speaker list are finished. So we are moving to the next delegates. Delegates of Libya, the floor is yours.
Honorable chairs and dear delegates, this conflict between Palestine and Israel has become a common issue for the world to resolve because this problem has caused many material and human loss. Libya, in particular, concentrating on effort to reconcile the conflict between Palestine and Israel to stop innocent victims of this conflict. In the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which has been adopted by the United Nations, states that everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. So it's our collective duty as human being to provide life, liberty, and security for victims affected by the tension between Palestine and Israel. We have collectively identified how there is no guarantee of human rights for the victim affected by the Palestine and Israel conflict. Libya believes that the only way to end this protected conflict is to stop the use of violence in dealing with this conflict, and believe that making Palestine a member of the 194th United States will result in clear credibility and legitimacy for Palestine, and also have Palestine in effort to negotiate with Israel. So that
I'm sorry, delegates of Libya, your time has elapsed. Now we are moving to the next delegates. Delegates of Malaysia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Vice President. Lately, it was reported that the Israel aggression and attacks, this time on Palestinians, start with the attack on Al-Aqsa Mosque on May 7, followed by airstrike in the Gaza Strip since last Monday. Since then, more than 100 people have been killed, while 100 were injured. Malaysia strongly condemns the invasion by Israel army against Palestinians who barricade the Al-Aqsa Mosque on May 7. Malaysia would not take an action arbitrarily, as the matter should be decided by the UN. Malaysia supports the effort by the UN Security Council and other countries to ensure the ceasefire and find a solution to the conflict. Malaysia is ready to send its troops at any time for a peacekeeping mission in Palestine if there are requests from the United Nations. Malaysia stands with consistent with the formation of free and independent state of Palestine for the class of Israel. Thank you.
Sorry, delegates of Malaysia. Now we are moving to the next delegates of Morocco. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Vice President. Morocco, as a member of the Arab League, is the fourth country to normalize diplomatic relations with Israel. The steps taken by our country certainly have pros and cons. However, the normalization relationship that has been agreed upon through the Abraham Accord agreement is not actually the acknowledgement of Israel, but as a normalization that restores relations that had been created in the past. The effect of normalizing relation between Morocco and Israel is likely to strengthen Israel's position. However, this is because there are misinterests from our country to be achieved. As a response to the Israel-Palestinian situation that has not improved, we also send 40 tons of aid. The assistance is expected to be able to become mutual support as well as a form of expression of sympathy for the Palestinian people. However, our country strongly supports the creation of a solution that will not harm only one side. Thank you.
You may yield the floor.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, delegates. Now we are moving to the next delegates of Mexico. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice President. Mexico expressed its deep concern over the rapidly deteriorating situation in Israel and Palestine. This was an imperative session in view of increasing civilian victims and the occupied Palestinian territory made this meeting absolutely necessary. Although the situation on the ground worsening every day, this council has still been incapable of speaking out of the Secretary General the Quartet. Various international entities and various states have done some of them very clearly and all of them timely way. It is regrettable that Security Council is failing to assume its role as the principal guardian of international peace and security. It is imperative for this council to speak up with one voice to seek to bring an end to the violence of this recent day. As representative of Mexico, we consider that the peace with real chance of success truly being a solution with independent right and most importantly a guaranteed security. We urge all the parties involved to put confrontation aside and to adopt measures to help lessen the violence. Thank you.
Thank you, delegates. Now we are moving to the next delegates of Netherlands. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice President. In the last year, we are facing the conflict of Israel and the Palestine, and the Netherlands has built a good relationship with both Israel and the Palestine Authority and wish to make this relationship even further and make another cooperation together. Netherlands were still supportive of Israel and valued especially their trade and economic relation, and the Netherlands is working actively with both parties to improve the socio-economic situation in the Palestine territories and hopes to contribute to a definitive solution, and the Netherlands suggests the world to end the violence and return it to negotiation tables and over that win-win solution. Thank you.
Thank you, delegates. You may yield the floor.
The floor is yours. Thank you, Vice President.
Thank you. Now we are moving to the next delegates of New Zealand. The floor is yours.
An honor. Thank you, Vice President. My name is Arif Suradharma, the delegates of the New Zealand. Today, I'm here to discuss one of more essential issue for that our country is very condolence and support Palestine for the problem that have occurred in Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you, delegates. You may yield the floor. Thank you, delegates. Now we are moving to the next delegates. Now we are moving to the next delegates of Nigeria. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice President, Your Excellency, President, Vice President, and distinguished delegates.
The federal government of Nigeria is watching this conflict with great concern. The unfolding development in Israel and the state of Palestine and urges both parties to see reason and de-escalate the hostilities. The Nigerian government further urges the two parties to remain committed to the two-state solution and in the meantime guarantee the right of all citizens to live in peace and dignity. Thank you.
Thank you, delegates. You may yield the floor.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Now we are moving to the next delegate. Delegate of Pakistan, the floor is yours. Unfortunately, delegates of Pakistan is not here, and we will be moving to the next delegates. We will continue opening speech from delegates of Pakistan after all the speaker lists are finished. Now, delegates of Poland, the floor is yours. Unfortunately, delegates of Poland is not here. We will moving to the next delegates. We will continue opening speech from delegates of Poland after all the speaker lists are finished. Now we are moving to the next delegates. Delegates of Portugal, the floor is yours.
Honorable Chair and fellow delegates and distinguished guests, as the delegate of Portugal, it is a grateful opportunity to be part of this conference. Israel and Palestine conflict is a lingering conflict throughout the world's history and also caused a lot of casualties, especially for women and children, and stability and lack of Palestinian security in both national border and human crisis. Portugal in this case support Palestine to be part of UN in order to facilitate intense negotiation and meditations to reach the breaking point and make peace in Middle East region. Renewing the commitment of two-state solutions ought to be stopping the human violations and incitement in Israel-Palestine conflicts. Portugal is looking forward to discuss and make a better solutions for this conflict. Thank you.
Thank you, delegates. We are moving to the next delegates. Delegates of Russia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice President. Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, our world today is facing many challenges, all the times in the last 6 decades to solve the ongoing conflict between the state of Israel and the Palestinian people in the Middle East have proved counterproductive or eventually futile as a result of the parties' lack of disposition to arrive at a viable solution. This is done because the Russian Federation considers the parties not being just not Israel and Palestine, but with all the countries in the surroundings and with the significant implications. As a lasting and long-term peace requires normalization all the things between the states implicated in the efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, delegates. You may yield the floor.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Now we are moving to the next delegates. Delegates of Saudi Arabia, the floor is yours.
Honorable Chair and distinguished delegate, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia always have interest on Israel-Palestine conflict. Since conflict arise, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia keep closely monitoring by directing peacemaking among both countries. Kingdom Saudi Arabia reaffirmed Saudi adherence to a Palestinian state based on the 1967 border with East Jerusalem as its capital. Our foreign minister clearly said our position is clear, which is to reach a permanent solution according to the Arab Initiative. We must stop violence Israel against Palestine. How many more people will die? How many more people will lose their family, and how many people can live in their country and become refugee? For that, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia always ready to assist joint peace meeting among both countries. Thank you.
Thank you, delegates. Now we are moving to the next delegates. Delegates of South Africa, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. The African National Congress had a close relation. The African National Congress had close relation with Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO. Nelson Mandela had close relation with Yasser Arafat. Nelson Mandela too had visit both Israel and Palestine and called for peace between both sides. Nelson Mandela said we need to close it down completely and make sure we have one embassy in Ramallah in Palestine. He says our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinian people. Thank you.
Thank you, delegates. You may yield the floor.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Now we are moving to the next delegates. Delegates of South Korea, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon to honorary delegate and to Chair of Vice President and President. The preamble to the South Korean Constitution form South Korean commitment to contribute to lasting world peace and the common prosperity of mankind. And South Korea has ratified the Article 49 about the territorial occupied territory, that the occupying power shall not deport or transfer part of its own civilian population into the territory it occupies. In this statement, we encourage to international community to find the best solution about this situation, because we cannot move from the suffering of the civilian that has impacted to this conflict between the Israel and Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you, delegates. Now we are moving to the next delegates. Delegates of Spain, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice President. The dispute between Palestine and Israel has been extending for a long period of time, even longer than the establishment of the United States nation itself. After the outbreak of World War II, the spread of Jewish immigrants to the Middle East region continues to increase, especially the Palestinian area. As a growth of Jewish population, in 1947, the UN General Assembly for Constitution 1921, which separates the two entities of Palestinian territory. In May 1948, Israel proclaimed the independence of its country and that found few countries carried out the Great Game. While repelling its allies, Israel is taking land that was originally reserved for Palestine in the process, and caused a huge Palestinian refugee crisis. Unfortunately, this incident is still going on until now and has seized the sympathy of many parties, including the Kingdom of Spain administration. We are very concerned about annexation and other violations that occur in the midst of conflict. So we hope through this forum, we may find the best solution to solve the issues and both countries. Thank you. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, delegates. Now we are moving to the next delegates. Delegates of Syria, the floor is yours.
As the neighborhood country, we have seen many problems that occur, and by that, of course, implicate to massive destruction, thousands of death, and loss of identity. This is surely not the condition that our United Nations want, either for Syria. We need to simplify things so we know the core problem for this conflict. And to simplify that, first, countries need to stop to maintain their own interest in this conflict. Neutrality is a must. Second, countries need to help to find the willingness for both Israel and Palestine to do negotiate and using Green Line and Jerusalem as international city. Within this second solution, Israel have to withdraw some territories such as West Bank, etc. And Palestine should have strong willingness to make a peace and to cut Hamas influence off, because as we see, Hamas cannot take a rational decision for Palestinian sovereignty and peace. Thank you.
Thank you, delegates. You may yield the floor.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, delegates. Now we are moving to the next delegate. Delegates of United Arab Emirates, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice President and Your Excellency, Mr. Robi and all delegates. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is one of the longest-running conflicts in the modern era. This is not a remote conflict in a God-forsaken place, but one constantly the center of international awareness. The United Arab Emirates efforts to normalize relations with Israel are without cause, let alone just the United Arab Emirates economic interests. This relationship is a sign of the United Arab Emirates' role in taking action to find solutions to existing problems. This will also logically help in Palestine, because how we can resolve this conflict if we use violence and bad communication. I'm standing here inviting all delegates to open our eyes. The Israel-Palestine conflict is intense, controversial, complex, and violent. Although different plans have been tried and failed, negotiations are restarting on both sides. Now is an important time for the international community to act, and have both sides come to an agreement that will lead to peace. Thank you.
Sorry, delegates of United Arabs. Thank you. Now we are moving to the next delegate, delegates of United Kingdom. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice President, Honorable Delegate and respected Chair. United Kingdom view violence across Israel and the occupation Palestine Authority must be stopped. United Kingdom offer our deepest condolences to the family, civilian. United Kingdom call for immediate ceasefire to prevent the future loss of life and worsening humanitarian situation. Act of terrorism and incitement for Hamas and other terrorism groups must be permanently ended. We gravely concerned by United Nations report the medical installation, school, and hundreds of homes in Gaza have been destroyed. That's why UK remains support of the United Nations Relief and War Agency should be able to continue vital work to improve life of Palestinian refugees and help maintain stability in the entire region. The United Kingdom remains commitment to two-state solution
Sorry,
as the best
delegates of United Kingdom, your time has elapsed. Now we are moving to the next delegates, delegates of Venezuela. The floor is yours. Unfortunately, delegates of Venezuela is not here. We will be moving to the next delegates. We will continue hearing opening speech from Venezuela after all the speaker lists are finished. To the next delegates, delegates of Arab League, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Vice President. Joined at 9 September 1979, Palestine is the 40th member of the Arab League until now, as Palestine is an Arab country situated in the heart of Arab countries and attached to the Arab world by various ties such as spiritual, historical, and strategic. The Arab country and even the Eastern one, government as well as people have concerned themselves with the problem of Palestinian and have raised it into the international level. We, on behalf of Arab League, strongly condemn the action of Israeli force and what it called millions of Palestinians currently forced to live in state of apartheid. We hope that the situation in Gaza could come to an end. The Arab League also welcomed emergency Arab assistance to the Gaza Strip to help alleviate the suffering of its residents and standing in solidarity with the Palestinian people. Thank you so much.
Thank you, delegates. Now we are moving to the next delegates, delegates of Organization of Islamic Cooperation. The floor is yours.
Thank you, fellow delegates and Honorable Chair. As the organization states that is the collective voice of the Muslim world, Organization of Islamic Cooperation believes to safeguard and protect the interests of the Muslim world in the spirit of promoting international peace and harmony. Since a long time ago, our friends in Palestine have experienced injustice that have been felt for a long time. We as humans also feel the same pain to see what happened there. So with this, in line with OIC goals, we also cannot remain silent. Recently, the crimes committed by Israel have gone too far, happened in the beginning of the year of 2019. The Palestine cause has witnessed serious and important developments and Israel military aggression. We believe that the need to revive the peace process to achieve a just and comprehensive solution for the Palestine cause based on the agreed international terms of reference on the intent of HE. To further support, the delegation of the OIC wants to engage in interaction and communication with other countries in the world to support proposed peace that may be obtained by Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you, delegates. Now I will recall all the delegates that hasn't been giving us the opening speech. Delegates of Australia, the floor is yours. Unfortunately, delegates of Australia cannot be here with us, so I will next to the next delegates of Iran. The floor is yours. Okay, unfortunately, delegates of Iran is also not here, so I will move to the next delegates. Delegates of Iraq, the floor is yours. Unfortunately, the delegates of Iraq is not here, so I will move to the next delegate. Delegate of Lebanon, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Today, I'm here to discuss one of the most important issues, the situation that exists in Israel and Palestine, especially on the borderline, has killed many civilians, children, and
Sorry, the sound. Could you make it big? The sound?
military abuses, detention.
Sorry, delegates of Lebanon. Can you start over and please be louder because we cannot hear your voice. Thank you. Delegates of Lebanon, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Today, I'm here to discuss one of the most important issues, the situation that exists in Israel and Palestine, especially on the borderline, has killed many civilians, children, and others. Military abuses, detention, torture, and killing have violated humanity and human rights and must stop. We believe that we must join hands to resolve and overcome the situation, foster pressure to secure and support democracy on both sides. Thank you.
Thank you, delegates of Lebanon. You may yield the floor.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Now we are moving to the next delegate, delegates of Pakistan. The floor is yours. Unfortunately, delegates of Pakistan is not here. Now we are moving to the next delegates, delegates of Poland. The floor is yours. Unfortunately, delegates of Poland is not here. So I will move to the next delegates. Delegates of Venezuela, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. Your Excellency, Chairman. Dear delegates, ladies and gentlemen, today I am here to discuss the issue of human rights Palestine, which is caused by the conflict between Israel and Palestine. The action of airstrikes by Israel that caused many civilian casualties, including women and children, so that is public concern and encourage many countries to provide assistance in effort to resolve the conflict. Thank you, chairs. Time is yours.
Thank you, delegates. You may yield the floor. Okay, thank you, delegates. Okay, now delegates, we are going to moving on the lobbying session. So this session will be directed by the President, Ms. Hemastia Kirana, to direct this session. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Vice President. Okay, greetings, distinguished delegates. Now we are on the law divisions, and you have 30 minutes to debate and make draft resolutions. We're going to make the breakout room to you make an alliance and build the draft resolutions with your alliance. And after that, you have to submit your draft resolutions to President after lobby inclusion. I think we're going to wait a minute, please, Vice President, to make the breakout rooms. So to all delegates that are going to make an alliance can directly go to the room. If the room is assigned. Please, delegates, you may go to your room to make the draft resolutions. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this room is being
Salam.
recorded though.
Okay, konnichiwa everyone.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam. Keluar lagi kan?
Nah, ini gak ngerti gue.
Ya kita Valorant. Let's go.
So what are we going to do?
Kitanya kita pindah ke ini nggak sih? Pindah ke room orang nggak sih?
Anjir, room satu cuma bertiga gini.
Nggak apa-apa kali bertiga apa gimana? Room 2 rame banget.
Iya. Sebenarnya gue cocok sama Indonesia sih.
Ini ada yang masuk lagi satu. Gio.
Indonesia sih gue. Kenapa gue di sini sih?
Assalamualaikum. Egypt.
No, I supposed to join the breakout room.
No. You are room
because
1.
I'm from Asia and bye Timur Tengah. Gimana caranya? No, I will join the room 2. Okay. Where is Indonesia? Kok nggak di Indonesia?
Room 2 aja lah.
Kita aja.
Room 2 aja lah.
Okay.
Recording in progress.
Kenapa jadi diam?
Who will first to speak?
Maybe ini ya pakai abjad aja kali ya biar kita nggak ngacak.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay. Argentina first, please.
Thank you, delegates, for the time. For the resolution of Palestina and Israel conflict, our state think that to produce long-term stability in Gaza, we must address the causes of the conflict first. First, the settlement policy in the occupied territories carried out by the Israeli authorities must be stopped. Then the blockade on the Gaza Strip must be lifted in full, and Israel's security issue must also be dealt with effectively. Not only that, an independent, transparent, and thorough investigation into all allegations of violations of international human rights and international humanitarian law that occurred in East Jerusalem must be carried out immediately. And yeah, that's the solution that our country.
Thank you for Argentina. So the second one is Canada. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you. As I say on my opening speech, Canada recognizes the Palestinian right to self-determination and support the creation of sovereign, independent, valuable, democratic, and territorially contiguous Palestinian state as part of comprehensive and just lasting peace settlement. Canada is committed to the goal of comprehensive, just, and lasting peace in Middle East, which can only be achieved through a two-state solution resulting from direct negotiation between the parties. Canada aims to uphold and promote the two-state solution by helping to establish a law-based, peaceful society that can ultimately become a state for the Palestinian and stable and secure neighbor for Israel. And we support resolutions that are consistent with Canadian policy on the Middle East, are rooted in international law, reflect current dynamic, contribute to the goal of negotiation of two-state solution to the Palestine and Israel conflict. And thank you.
Thank you so much for Canada. Okay, the third one is from Algeria delegates. Time is yours. Algeria, please.
Okay. Thank you. While condemning in its strongest term or the barbaric attacks against the defenseless Palestinian people, we believe that these attacks were encouraged by the complacent silence of the international community to Israel expansionist policies and their negative impact on peace and security in regions. So, um, Algeria need for urgent action within the United Nations to reach a formula that compels Israel to stop its aggressions on Gaza. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Algeria. So the next delegates is Arab. For Arab, time is yours. Arab, please.
As I say in my opening speech, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia ready to assist a joint peaceful meeting between among countries, and we must stop violence Israel on Palestine. Thank you.
Okay, for the all delegates just to join in this section, we are to present our resolution. So for the next delegate is Arab Liju. Time is yours.
Thank you. On behalf of Arab League, we have been adopted the resolution from our ordinary session, which is the 155th session in Cairo on 3rd March of 2021. We have two resolution regarding on the Palestine and Israel conflict that hopefully will make a better future for the peace on behalf of the conflict. The first resolution is the 8599, which is the follow-up to political development concerning the question of the Palestine, the Arab-Israel conflict, and the promotion of the Arab Peace Initiative. The second one is the Resolution 8600, which is development and Israeli violation in the occupied city of Jerusalem. The resolution consists a lot of things, such as to reiterate the East Jerusalem is the capital of the state of Palestine, and then to condemn strongly and reject categorically all the systematic and illegal Israeli policies, and then to salute and support the resilience of the Palestinian people and institution in the occupation of city of Jerusalem, and many more of the uh, resolution from this session that we had that maybe can be adopted by this uh, session as well. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, for the next delegates, China, time is yours.
All right, so as I mentioned before, China will fully support Palestinians to gain their legitimate national rights. And regarding this effort to help this conflict, China put forward four proposals. The first one is a ceasefire and the end of violence should be a top priority. And the second one is humanitarian assistance is an urgent need, and the third one is international support is an obligation, and the fourth one is the two-state solution is a fundamental solution. And China is ready to make constructive effort for the resumption of Israeli and Palestinian peace talks. And then the Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Hua Chunying said at a press conference in Beijing Monday, May 10, 2020. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And the next delegates is Germany, please. Time is yours. Hello, Germany. Germany has repeatedly advocated a two-state solution. Every new Israel settlement contraction is accompanied by admonition from Germany not to further strain the situation in the country, and we are already work for the bilateral to support a peaceful solution. Our government has regular politic talk with representative of the Israel government and the Palestine Authority. As one the large country bilateral donors, we contribute to building infrastructure, to improving education, to work program, and to establishing less sustainable economic in Palestine. Enough. Okay, sorry. For the next delegates, Ethiopia, please.
Okay, thank you. However, beside the Israel, we also regret the human rights violence that Israel do in Palestine. However, in our opinion, it's necessary to cease the terrority because in our country there is also a problem like this with a Muslim who enter and want to build a mosque in our old city, namely Aksum. Therefore, we are here to enable to.
Sorry, Ethiopia, can you be louder?
Oh, sorry. Because in our city there is also a problem with the Muslim who enter and want to build a mosque in our holy city, namely Aksum. Therefore, we are here to enable to provide a better solution because our domestic conflict were not done yet, and we afraid if we give a solution, it will be a bad solution for both parties. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Ethiopia. So the next delegate is Japan. Japan, time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Japan will most certainly endeavor to assist in reaching a successful resolution for the situation of Palestine and Israel. And Japan has collaborated with many countries in East Asia by forming a committee in the Conference on Cooperation between East Asian Countries for Palestine Development, which aims to improve Palestinian human resources. In that conference, we stated our commitment to help Palestine. Yeah, to help Palestine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Japan. So the next delegate is Lydia. Time is yours. Lydia, please.
Sorry. Libya believed that the only way to end this protracted conflict is to stop the use of violence in dealing with this conflict, and believe that making Palestine a member of the 194 United Nations, sorry, my mistake, will result in clear credibility and legitimacy for Palestine, and also help Palestine effort to negotiate with Israel, so that Libya asks the United Nations Security Council to start voting and making Palestine a permanent member of the United Nations. Thank you.
Malaysia, please.
Okay. Thank you for the time. So Malaysia strongly condemns the invasion by Israeli army against Palestinians who barricade the Al-Aqsa Mosque on May 7. Malaysia suggests that Malaysia can deploy our troops within the peacekeeping mission by the United States, and the suffering of Palestinians have to end immediately, and to make it everlasting peace for the both sides. Malaysia stand for the consistent with the formation of the free and independent state of Palestine. But first of all, we are suggest to the Palestinian to make it the overdue general election to reuniting the Palestinian people under one single legitimate and democratic Palestinian national government. That's all that we can suggest. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Malaysia. And the next delegate is Mexico. Mexico, time is yours.
Thank you. As representative of Mexico, we must reminding that a peace resolution with a real chance of success and truly being a solution must include an independent right and most importantly, a guarantee security system of Israel and Palestine to live in peace with secure and internationally recognized border. This need compromise from both sides and also very important from the other Arab country and Security Council permanent member. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And the next delegate is Portugal. Portugal, time is yours.
Thank you. Portugal support Palestine for joining UN membership to defeat.
Sorry, Portugal, can you be louder?
Okay. Portugal support Palestine for joining UN membership to defuse the tension between the two states and induce more intense negotiations and mediation to solve this conflict. Portugal also emphasized the immediate humanitarian aid and also support for Palestine's recovery and sustainable reconstruction towards two-state solution is renewing the commitment and also all human rights violations and incitement into it. Portugal also support for Palestine to decrease the casualties and make the stability and peace throughout Middle East region. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Portugal. And the next delegate is Russia. Russia, time is yours.
Thank you. So, because the Russian Federation is concerned for peace plan work, we felt that important to agree on the creation of a Palestinian state that will live in peace and security, in accordance with the decision of the UN Security Council, side by side with Israel and the other countries in the region. In order for such negotiations to begin, it is necessary to stop violence on all sides. So we consider that a peace agreement with a real chance of success and truly being resolution with two-state solution. Thank you.
Thank you so much for Russia. Reminded again for all those delegates to drop your country resolution in this chat. Thank you. And the next delegate is Spain. Spain, time is yours.
Thank you. Palestine has traditionally been a priority for official Spanish cooperation and will continue to be so. The global goal of Spanish cooperation in Gaza and the West Bank is the survival of the state of Palestine, and Spain has dedicated significant efforts to humanitarian assistance in the region, which is channeled through international organizations on the ground. Finally, our country is contributing financially to Gaza's ongoing rebuilding process. We call on both sides to refrain from unilateral actions and continue credible dialogue to advance efforts to achieve a two-state solution and end the conflict. Thank you.
Thank you so much for Spain. Please, by delegates, Shamareta, please rename your name. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
The next delegate is Syria. Syria, time is yours.
Okay, from Sharia perspective, that first thing first, the countries need to help to find the willingness for both Israel and Palestine, the willingness for the negotiate, and using the Green Line and Jerusalem as international city back to pre-1967 line, and for that Green Line, Israel have to withdraw some territory such as West Bank, etc., back to Green Line again, and the Palestinians should have strong willingness to make a peace. And by that, they have really cut the Hamas influence off, because as we see, Hamas cannot take a rational decision for Palestinian sovereignty and peace. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Syria. And the next delegates is United Kingdom. United Kingdom, please.
Okay, thank you. From United Kingdom, remains commitment to state solution. Israel and Palestine constantly peaceful. Very important from other country like Arab and Middle East country can be and for the refugee and civil rights, UK support the return of Palestine refugee and the homeland, and Palestine civil rights must be protected. Thank you.
Thank you for United Kingdom. And the next delegate is Venezuela. Venezuela, time is yours.
please, Venezuela. Okay, unfortunately, Venezuela can tell us about their solution. So for the next delegates is Jordania. Jordania, then is yours.
Okay, thank you. Jordan continues to try to find ways to effort so that the two countries can reach peace. Seeing that too many human rights have been violated in this conflict, we hope that Israel and Palestine will soon become the countries that are free from the worst occupation. And of course, there must be international action that is able to stop Israel from continuing to harm Palestine. Therefore, it is important for us not to turn a blind eye to this conflict. Countries must also be able to impose severe sanctions on Israel so that Israel can consider its attack on Palestine more carefully, like what Jordan did by expelling the Israeli ambassador, because without action from the other countries, this problem will not be solved. Thank you.
Thank you so much for Jordania. So for the next delegate is Belgium. Belgium, time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Belgium is open to any solution as long as civilians in Israel and Palestine get long-term positive results. Belgium will participate in supporting Palestine as the 194 member of the United Nations in an effort to support the enforcement of human rights violation against Palestinian refugees. Because in Belgium, human rights are highly respected and human rights enforcement runs in accordance with applicable law. Another resolution given by Belgium is to impose sanctions on Israel if Israel implements its plan to annex part of the West Bank. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Belgium. So the next delegates is France. France, time is yours.
Okay, but France believes that two-state solution is the best way to resolve this conflict. The solution is able to answer the aspiration of both regarding security, independence, recognition, and dignity. And therefore, we believe there is four important things that must be overseen in this resolution of conflict. The first is border based on the 4 June 1967 lines with agreed equivalent and land swaps. All violation of the Israeli and Palestinian border that have been agreed must be stopped. Israel's illegal occupation of the West Bank and East Jerusalem is an obstacle to the realization of two-state solution and the lasting peace. The second is the security arrangement preserving the sovereignty and the future Palestinian state and guaranteeing the security of Israel. The third is a fair, equitable, and negotiated solution to the refugee problems. And the last, an arrangement making Jerusalem the capital of both sides. We believe the Jerusalem become capital of both sides can support Israel and Palestine to live side by side in peace and security. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for France delegates. So anyone else yet? Okay, I think everyone has submitted the feedback. For the next step, we are going to deliver our resolution that will be delivered by Colifaturan staff from Argentina. Argentina, time is yours.
I think we must discussing about the resolution that countries has writing in the chat room. I already make a summary in this chat room. So can I share the screen? So these are the resolution that countries has given in the chat room. I think we must discuss about this. So the first solution is stop the use of violence in dealing with this conflict.
Okay, guys, so here Argentina as our General Secretary who will deliver our draft resolution. So please, for all those delegates to responsive to our draft resolution.
Okay, I will read it first, and then I think we can discuss is the best solution for this conflict. So the first solution is stop the use of violence in dealing with this conflict, and then making Palestine a member of the 194th United Nations. The settlement policy in the occupied territories carried out by the Israeli authorities must be stopped. The blockade on the Gaza Strip must be lifted in full. An independent, transparent, and sharp investigation into all allegations of violence of international human rights and international humanitarian law that occurred in East Jerusalem must be carried out immediately. Refrain unilateral action and continue credible dialogue to advance effort to achieve a two-state solution and end the conflict. And then adopted resolution on the 155th Ordinary Session in Cairo on 3rd March 2021. The resolution are Resolution 8599 follow up to political development concerning question of Palestine, the Arab-Israeli conflict, and the promotion of the Arab Peace Initiative. The resolution 8600 development and Israel pollution in the occupied city of Jerusalem. These two resolutions consist such as: first, to reiterate that Jerusalem is the capital of the state of Palestine. Second, to condemn strongly and reject categorically all the systematic and illegal Israel policy and plans to legitimize the annexation of the Holy City. Third, to salute and support the resilience of the Palestinian people and institutions in the occupied city of Jerusalem as they confront the systematic Israel policy. And then condemns the violence against civilians, calls for an end to abstract ground attacks, rocket attacks, and other action that exacerbate the situation. Regarding effort to help this conflict, China put forward for proposal, namely a ceasefire and the end of violence would be top priority. Humanitarian assistance is an urgent need. International support is an obligation. The two-state solution is a fundamental solution. And then Israel have to withdraw some territories such as West Bank. Palestinians will have strong willingness to make a peace and to cut Hamas influence off. UN Security Council and the international community to assume their responsibility and end this dangerous escalation and reach a formula that compels Israel to stop its aggression on Gaza. And then ensure the ceasefire immediately and sending the peacekeeping troops by UN. Accelerate long overdue general election in Palestine to make Palestine reunite under a single legitimate and democratic Palestinian national government. And then ensure the independence of Palestine immediately for everlasting peace for both sides. So that's a summary of the solution for all delegates. What do you think about it?
Okay, thank you so much for Argentina as our General Secretary to deliver our draft resolution. So please, for all those delegates to comment or respond about this summary, you can respond directly with on mic.
From the Libya representative, Libya agree with this summary resolution in.
Okay, thank you, Lydia. Remind it again. So this draft must be agreed by half of the some of the delegates. Please turn on your mic.
I think we should make it clear what we stand for, because in this solution there is different that most state want to state solution, but some of state we can see that they're more to want to Palestine to become a member of the 119 for United Nations and like that.
Argentina, please scroll to down. Okay. Any comments here for all delegates? Please be responsive so we can get our conclusion.
From Libya, from Ethiopia, I think is enough, and Ethiopia is agree with that resolution.
Thank you, Ethiopia.
Thank you, Australia.
As delegate of Canada, I agree with this resume of the solution. And also, I want to reminding that this breakout room will be end for 5 minutes left. Thank you.
Okay. So guys, this summary is not the clearly conclusion from the Argentina, so you can comment if you not agree. Or you can deliver your suggestion from your country.
From China, we agree about this draft, but for reminding, we support the two-state solution. Maybe you can take note of it. Thank you.
From Jordan.
Okay, China, sorry. Sorry, China, can you repeat your comment before?
We agree about this draft, but just for remind everyone, we will support the two-state solution.
Okay, thank you. Who is want to deliver? Jordania? Or anyone?
From the Jordania, look at the solution and the representatives provided by Argentina. So far, we agree with Argentina and will be supporting for the solution.
Okay, thank you. How about the other delegates? Please be responsive because we need
Delegate of
to.
Saudi Arabia. Oh,
okay. Continue.
Delegate of Saudi Arabia agree with this draft resolution. Thank you.
What you agree about, because here some resolution, so we need to choose what the grade
to deliver our draft resolution from our from our group. Jadi gini guys, di rangkuman yang udah dibuat Isa ini, kita butuh buat, ini kan tadi ada beberapa yang udah Tisa rangkum, jadi kita tuh perlu diskusi untuk kesetujuan kita itu dari grup kita, grup 2 ini, kita mau pakai yang mana gitu teman-teman. Makanya kalian need to respond and comment and giving your suggestion or anything else gitu.
Okay, from Japan, can you move it down? Yeah, so we agreed with this ensure the independence of Palestine immediately for everlasting peace for both sides. Yes, so we agreed. UN Security Council and the international community to assume their responsibilities and reach a formula to compel Israel to stop its aggression in Gaza. Yeah, we agreed on this draft resolution.
Okay, Argentina, can you help me to board or this choice? Okay, from other delegates.
Maybe from Libya, that Libya really wanna make Palestine to become a join the United Nations, because how we can make a two-state solution when Palestina itself is not a state that recognized by the United Nations. So
Japan is
Libya.
Okay.
Thank you.
Continue. Enough. Okay. So any comment or suggestion from other delegates, please, because we just have to choose from 2 delegates. Or we can vote to we can vote from Japan and Libya suggestion. How about this, guys? Or you can have your resolution self. Please deliver in this room.
Libya agreed to choose. Ethiopia agreed to choose Libya statement that we should making a Palestine as a member of United Nations.
Okay, thank you, Ethiopia. How about other delegates?
Delegation from Belgium is agreed to the draft resolution and also support the Palestine as the 194 member of the United Nations, like Libya. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for Belgium. Please,
I'm sorry.
Yes.
The time is up. Do you guys need more
Okay.
time? If you need more time to discuss, please go to the main room and inform the president or the vice president how much time do you need. Thank you.
Okay,
Please
thank you so
go to
much.
the main room now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Savannah. Ini yang live satu aja ngomong atau gimana ya?
I think so.
Think Tia should leave.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Berarti
we
I
have.
should, I should to leave this room. Nanti balik lagi ya.
Okay.
Okay, please guys, to discuss about the resolution, please. So because we just have short time.
Okay.
Hello guys. Wait. Aduh. Okay, sorry. Hello guys. So we just have 8 minutes left to have our conclusion about our draft resolution, please. Argentina, do we have the resolution? Hello, Argentina. Is it my voice clearly, guys?
Yeah, your voice is clearly.
Okay. Please, Argentina, can you deliver to us how about the result of our discussion? I still edit the. Sorry, I can hear your voice clearly. I still edit the draft resolution. Okay, thank you.
Can I have more than one suggestion?
Yes, of course,
I
please.
think, we agree to this calls for an end to airstrike, ground attacks, rocket attacks, and other action that exacerbate the situation. That's from Japan.
Okay, thank you. Okay, guys, we just have 2 minutes left. Okay, Argentina. Have you done? Okay, thank you for Argentina to complete our draft resolution. So guys, please read again this draft and make sure it's final our draft resolution, please. Okay, any comments here? Or enough?
Enough.
I think
From
that
the
enough.
representation
I
of
think that's
Libya.
enough.
Enough.
Okay, thank you for your response, guys. So you can back to main room, please.
Recording in progress.
Excuse me, Mrs. President and Vice President. From Group 2 is well done.
Please, from the all delegates and the alliance from the second room, you may send the draft resolution to our class group, and please name it with the format that with the format and the group. Thank you. I repeat, please, for the delegate and the alliance from the second room to submit your draft resolution to our class group. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we will do. Thank you. Excuse me, Mrs. President and Mrs. Vice President. Well, that we have to we will done to submit our draft resolution in group. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, delegates of Australia. So, welcome back, distinguished delegates. We have received 2 draft resolutions from Netherlands and Alliance and then Australian Alliance. And Netherlands and Alliance draft resolutions has been recognized. And please present your draft resolution. Of Netherlands, the time is yours.
Thank you, President and Vice President, for the change. So I will represent Netherlands and my alliance to speak about this conflict. And we want to support Middle East to reach established peace and the peace process between Palestine and Israel. We think it will be enabled for this solution, which will enable a secure Israel and independent, democratic, and viable Palestine state to exist peacefully side by side. The first one, in the view we as delegates, there's a way to clear this conflict. The offering is to make an independent Palestine state which would exist alongside Israel in peace and security. There is no realistic reason that will last forever or another peaceful alternative to this two-state solution, which will have to be done with negotiation. The two-state solution is the only approach that meets the aspiration of both parties. Sorry. We regard the Israel settlements in the occupied Palestine territories as illegal. They are in conflict with the international law and pose a serious threat to peace process. The second one, we want to supporting a two-state solution, Israel and Palestine, based on international law and human rights for both sides. Number 3, we want to emphasizing the need for an impartial attitude from the international community in assessing the resolution of the Palestine issues and promoting the peace process. And the next place delegates of UAE, Irfan Yama, will continue our draft resolution, please.
And Honorable all delegate and also President and Vice President. And the four is supporting the importance of maintaining the continuity of the work of UNRWA or United Nations Relief and Work Agency for Palestine refugees in the Near East to provide services to Palestinian refugees and also calling for the need for the involvement of the international community in helping Palestinian refugees, especially in ensuring the future of the children. And the last draft resolution that we got from the group 3 and all delegate is we sincerely hope that every country can participate, especially the role of the Arab League and resolving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which is considered very strategically geographically with conflict areas. Even Arab countries know very well this should be utilized by the leader of Arab countries to continue to communicate intensively with both parties to stop the conflict by giving independence to Palestine and to be able to live freely. Because the international community knows that Israel has granted the right of Palestinians a dozen years ago, and now they continue to be in our Palestinian land. This is what keeps the conflict going because the Palestinians will continue to fight in the land that belong to them is taken by Israel. And the closing statement from our resolution is, importantly, the Israel-Palestine conflict is intense, controversial, complex, and violent. Also, different plans have been tried and failed. Negotiations are restricting on both sides. Now is an important time for the international community to act, more act, and have both sides come to an agreement that will lead to peace between Israel and Palestine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the presentations of draft resolutions from Netherlands and the Alliance. We're going to give you 5 minutes to do a question and answer session. Due to the time limit, we only entertain 3 questions from other delegates about the draft resolutions from Netherlands and the Alliance. You might asking regarding the draft resolution, so to all delegates that you can raise your hand using the raise hand feature from the Zoom, please. Is there any question? To all delegates, is there any questions regarding to Netherlands and Alliance draft resolutions? So I think we could continue to thank you for Netherlands and UAE, sorry. And for Australia and Alliance, you may represent your draft resolution, please. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you for Mrs. President and Mrs. Vice President. So here we are going to share you about our draft resolution from group 2. First, refrain unilateral action and continue credible dialogue to advance effort to achieve a two-state solution.
and end the conflict by accelerate long overdue general election in Palestine to make Palestine reunite under a single, legitimate, and democratic, ensure the independence of Palestine immediately for everlasting peace for both sides, and making Palestine a member of the 1904 United Nations. Second, the use of violence in dealing with this conflict must be stopped with the settlement policy in the occupied terrorists carried out by the Israeli authorities must be stopped. The block on the Gaza Strip must be lifted in full. Calls for an end to airstrike, ground attacks, rocket attacks, and other actions that exacerbate the situation. And third, UN Security Council must ensure the ceasefire immediately and sending the peacekeeping troops an independent, transparent, and truth investigation into all allegations of violance of international human rights and international humanitarian then law that occurred in East Jerusalem must be carried out immediately. Maybe enough from our group. May my alliances want to share the other resolution.
Thank you so much, delegates from Australia. So we're going to do the question and answer sessions regarding to Australian and Alliance draft resolution. Please use the raise hand feature, and sponsor may choose the delegates whether they want to ask the questions or discuss the draft resolution. Please, if there are any delegates that want to ask or discuss the draft resolutions from Australia and Alliance. I think there's no delegates that want to ask or discuss. So thank you so much, Australia, for presenting your draft resolutions. Distinguished delegates, now we're moving to the next agenda. That is voting procedure. So we for draft resolutions from Netherlands and Alliance and Australian and the Alliance draft resolutions. Is there any delegates that want to change the order of the draft to be voted? Please to be considered that if the first draft got a half of today's delegates yes vote, so we're going to pass the Netherlands and Alliance draft resolutions to be our result today. Please, is there any delegates that want to change the order? Okay, I think there's no delegates that want to change the order, so we will begin with Netherlands and the Alliance draft resolution. And when delegates name, please state it whether you are yes or in favor, no or against, or abstain for the countries that same present and the roll call. Thank you. So I'm going to start calling the country. Algeria.
Thank you.
Please.
I agree in favor with the draft from Australia and Alliance.
I'm sorry,
Thank you.
delegates from Algeria. We are begin with the Netherlands and Alliance draft resolution.
Okay.
So you may just say yes or no or abstain. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I'm gonna say no.
Thank you so much, delegates from Algeria. Delegates from Arab League, you cannot do the voting. So I'm going to go to Argentina. Please, delegates from Argentina.
I'm against the resolution.
Thank you so much. Delegates from Australia.
I'm against about the draft from first group.
Thank you so much, delegates from Belgium.
I'm against the draft resolution from Netherlands and Alliance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So the delegates from Canada.
I against. Thank you.
Thank you so much, delegates from China.
I'm against.
Thank you so much, delegates from Cuba. Please, delegates from Cuba. I'm sorry, delegates from Cuba. I think we will move into the next delegates. So we're going to call you after all the way is finished. Delegates from Egypt. Please, delegates from Egypt. Okay, so delegates from Ethiopia.
We against. We against. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Delegates from France.
We against.
Okay, thank you. Delegates from Germany.
We against.
Thank you so much, delegates from India.
We think for some considerations, we are in favor with the draft resolutions from the Netherlands. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Delegates from Indonesia.
We are in favor with the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Delegates from Iran. Delegates from Iraq. Delegates from Japan.
I against the draft resolution. So the draft resolution. I against it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, delegates from Japan. Delegates from Jordan.
We against.
Thank you so much. Delegates from Lebanon.
We in favor.
You are in favor. Thank you. Delegates from Libya.
Delegate from Libya against the draft resolution.
Thank you so much. Delegates from Malaysia.
We against the draft resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegates from Morocco.
I'm agree with the resolution.
Okay, thank you so much. Delegates from Mexico.
Mexico against with the draft resolution from Netherlands.
Thank you, Mexico. Delegates from Netherlands.
We in favor.
Thank you. Delegates from Nigeria.
We favor.
I'm sorry, delegates from New Zealand is in favor.
Favor.
Thank you. Thank you. Delegates from Pakistan. Delegates from Poland. Delegates from Portugal.
We against the draft resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegates from Russia.
Russia against.
Thank you so much, Russia. Delegates from Saudi Arabia.
Abstain.
Okay, Saudi Arabia takes the abstain. Thank you so much. Delegates from South Africa. Delegates from South Africa. Okay, we'll be moving to the next delegation. From South Korea. Delegates from South.
We favor.
Thank you so much. Delegates from South Korea in favor with the draft resolution. Delegates from Spain.
We against the resolution.
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you clearly. Delegates
We
from
against the resolution.
Thank you. Spain against the draft resolution. So, delegates from Syria.
Syria against.
Okay, thank you, Syria. Delegates from United Arab Emirates.
We in favor.
Thank you so much. Delegates from United Kingdom.
United Kingdom against.
Thank you. Delegates from Venezuela.
Venezuela again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all delegates. So please, we're going to count the result. To all delegates, please wait a minute. We are counting the result of voting from Netherlands and Alliance draft resolutions. Thank you. So to all delegates, as you may see on your screen that 20 delegates against the Netherlands and the Alliance draft resolutions and 9 in favor with 1 abstain. So I think we're going to move to vote the Australian and Alliance draft resolution. So if the Netherlands and Alliance draft resolution is not passed. Before we continue, is there any delegates that want to give in any opinion about the result of the voting? Please. So we will continue to the next vote. The next draft resolutions from Australian and the Alliance. You may say yes or in favor if you guys agree with the draft resolutions. You can say no or against it, or you may abstain. Please, Vice President, to share the voting screen. I will start to call out the delegates for vote the second draft resolutions from Australia and the Alliance. Please, Algeria.
Algeria in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegates of Argentina.
Argentina in favor.
Thank you. Delegates from Australia.
Australia in favor.
Thank you so much. Delegates from Belgium.
Belgium in favor.
Thank you. Delegates from Canada.
Canada in favor.
Thank you so much. Delegates from China.
China is in favor.
Thank you so much. Delegates from Cuba.
Cuba is against.
Against the draft resolution. Delegates from Egypt. Delegates from Egypt, please. Delegates from Ethiopia.
Ethiopia is in favor.
Thank you. Delegates from France.
France in favor.
Thank you. Delegates from Germany.
In favor.
Delegates from India.
India is against.
Thank you so much. Delegates from India. Sorry, delegates from Indonesia.
Which is against.
Thank you. Delegates from Iran. Delegates from Iraq. Delegates from Japan.
We are in favor. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Delegates from Jordan.
Jordan in the favor.
Delegates from Lebanon.
Lebanon against.
Setuju apa enggak?
Delegates from Libya.
Libya in favor with the draft.
Thank you so much. Delegates from Malaysia.
Malaysia is in favor.
Thank you so much. Delegates from Morocco. Delegates from Morocco, please. Delegates from Morocco.
Morocco is against.
Thank you. Delegates from Mexico.
Mexico is in favor.
Thank you. Delegates from Netherlands.
We against the resolution.
Thank you. Delegates from New Zealand.
New Zealand is against.
Thank you, Nagla. Delegates from Nigeria.
We against the draft.
Thank you. Delegates from Pakistan. Delegates from Poland. Delegates from Portugal.
Portugal's in favor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Portugal. Delegates from Russia.
We are in favor.
Thank you. Delegates from Saudi Arabia.
We are in favor.
Thank you so much. Delegates from South Korea. Sorry, South Africa. Delegates from South Africa, please. Delegates from South Korea.
South Korea abstain.
Thank you. South Korea is take the abstain. Delegates from Spain.
Spain is in favor.
I'm sorry.
In favor.
Thank you so much. Spain is in favor. Delegates from Syria.
Abstain.
Delegates from Syria take the abstain. Delegates from United Arab Emirates.
Sorry, we abstain.
Thank you. Delegates from United Kingdom.
United Kingdom abstain.
Thank you so
Abstain.
much. Thank you so much. Delegates from Venezuela.
Venezuela is in favor.
Venezuela is in favor. Thank you. So please, please Vice President, come to resolve. So to all delegates, you may see that there's 19 countries that in favor for the draft resolution from Australia and Alliance, 8 countries against it, and 4 countries abstain. So from the result, we can conclude that the draft resolutions from Australians and Alliance is passed. But before that, we give you time if there are any delegates from Netherlands and Alliance or Australians and Alliance to make kind of say something regarding to the draft resolutions.
Okay, thank you for Mrs. President and Vice President. Maybe my alliances could be deliver our draft solution, please.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Is it Australia?
Yes.
Please, Australia.
Okay. Maybe my alliances can deliver about our resolution, please. Lydia, can you deliver to represent our draft resolution?
Okay, thank you, Australia. In our draft resolution, make sure Palestine will recognized by the United Nations. Why we want Palestine to be recognized by United Nations? Because when two-state solution, there is one state and another state, but Palestine is not state that recognized by the United Nations. So there is no balance within Israel and Palestine when the negotiation began. Thank you.
Okay, thank you from Lydia. Maybe from another analysis from Australia. Japan, can you deliver your draft resolution, please? Hello, Japan, please.
Please, Japan, you might take the floor.
Okay, maybe Japan have any problem. Please, my alliances, you can give or deliver about our draft resolution, please.
I think we can make it.
Okay, sorry?
I think we can make it quick, Australian and the Alliance.
Okay. Maybe from Spain, any solution?
So just to remind you that your the draft resolution from Australia and Netherlands has been passed for this meeting. So the result is we're going to use Australia and the Alliance draft resolutions. I think if there's no something to say anymore from the Alliance, we can I could announce the result, please. So I think there's nothing to be delivered anymore from Australia and the Alliance. Can we continue?
Okay, sorry. It's from my country. As a form of support for the creation of a peaceful world between Palestine and Israel, we ask as an agent of peace by urging Australians who have a relation with conflict to act with tolerance and respect for both countries between Israel and Palestine. And also the Australian government argue that all involved to exercise their restraint, although Israel also has the right to defend itself and its people. Palestinian must be able to live in safety. Thus, Australia is committed to a two-state solution in which Israel and a future Palestinian state live side by side in a peace and security within internationally recognized border. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your statement, Australia. So I think we have reached our end of discussion today. With the result that the draft resolutions from Australians and the Alliance has been passed, and the result for today's discussion is we're going to use the draft from Australians and Alliance. Thank you so much for all delegates to be participating on our Model United Nations today. And I think we're going to do the documentation session. So I hope that all the delegates could turn on the camera, please. I think that's President.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. President. So I will lead the documentation session. So I will screenshot the first screen. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, wait a minute. We will moving on to the last page. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it's done. I will give the session back to the Vice President. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much for all the delegates. Our agenda is already reached the end of the time, so I think Mr. Robbie would say some words for this class today. Bang Robbie, I think the time is yours.
Okay, ya. We appreciate for all delegates that have present here. Ya, give applause. So the
recording
resolution
stopped.
passed or not?
Yes, it is passed with Australian and Alliance draft resolution.
Okay, thank you for all your participation. This is the. Could you make the final statement from this event? Closing statement, Mas, as President.
I think I would like to say much thanks to all the participations from all distinguished delegates. Thank you so much for the standout participation, of course, and I hope that me and Savannah not say anything that could hurt your feelings. Thank you so much for Bang Robi too for facilitating our MUN today. I think this is most of delegates here. It is their first time to do Model United Nations. So thank you. That's all for me. I think the Vice President would like to deliver some words, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. President, for the change. Okay, and also thank you so much for Mr. Robbie for facilitating our MUN today, and thank you so much for all the distinguished delegates for being so active in the discussion today, and I hope we can learn a lot from today's MUN, and we will see you on the next MUN. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, see you for the next meeting. Yeah, in the next week.
Okay, Bang.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Robbie.
Syria want to say some words?
Delegates from Syria, you may take the floor.
I think it is enough, yeah.
Yeah, I think it is enough too, Mr. Robbie and President.
I think we could end the meeting.
Robbie, may we
End the meeting?
Okay, Ms. President and Mr. Robbie and all the distinguished delegate, I will end the meeting now. Thank you so much. Good evening. Have a and nice.
Thank you.
Thank you semuanya.
Thank you,
guys.
For all the
Thank you,
friends.
Hemas.
Big one
It's
from the
done.
India, all my friends.
It's done. It's done.
I wish that all of
Kayaknya
you
kakak
can
Q.
be global diplomat in the
India sih
future.
kak.
Minggu depan mau
Salam
lagi
buat
nggak?
Ika.
Aksen India.
Gas.